Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats Weekly Podcast Episode number 163. I am your host today, Dan Matson, aka Wooden Boat Dan. If you can't do it, well, it's likely anybody can. And this is the world's first podcast fully dedicated to celebrating the art, craft, history, tradition, and romance of wooden vessels around the globe. Thanks for joining me today, folks, for the podcast. We plan to have a good time here as usual talking about wooden boats. How could you not have a good time talking about wooden boats? I just don't know. I think wooden boats are pretty cool. Now, if you hear a little humming in the background, that's my heater. It's on in my office because my office is 64 degrees. It's a little cool in here. Normally I would turn that off, but it kind of adds to the ambiance, so I think I'm going to leave that on. Today's podcast is brought to you by Duckworks Boat Building Supply in Harper, Texas. Chuck and Sandra Lineweber have this family business, and they do a great job with it. They've been doing it for a long time. They sell really cool stuff for boats, for building boats, and repairing boats and outfitting your boat and plans for boats and sails and rudder, hardware, all kinds of stuff for boats of all sizes, really. They have very reasonable prices, great customer service. So if you'd like to support an American small family business, this is the one to go to. Best way to get there is hookedonwoodenboats.com/duck. Again, that's hookedonwoodenboats.com/duck. And tell them Wooden Boat Dan sent you. One more advertisement before we continue here. If you do make purchases on Amazon, I would appreciate it if you would go through my link to make your purchase. That way I get paid a small commission and help support the podcast. That link is hookedonwoodenboats.com/Amazon. Thanks in advance for doing that. This was a good week for working in my shop and on my scamp. I actually got some more work done on enlarging the bulkhead access ports. I don't know if you call them ports, but there's basically this large bulkheads in the boat that had round holes in them from the way they were cut at the CNC shop, and I've enlarged those to follow the shape of the hole so they're bigger, and that's kind of an improved modification by John Welsford. And in bulkhead 2, which is basically, bulkhead 1 is the pram bow, bulkhead 2 is a big bulkhead in the fore of the boat that's had 2 round holes in it, so I cut that out to one big kind of triangular shape. And I did this by rolling my boat outside to work on it, which I love my dolly. That it's so cool. For those of you that didn't hear, I built a dolly for the scamp that brings the boat up so that the gunnel of the boat is about waist high on me. So it's a good working height. And it's on caster, so I can roll it outside and work outside on nice days. So that's really fun. I've also been considering wanting to have a way to move my table saw around other than sliding this heavy grizzly contractor saw around on metal casters. Not casters, just metal wheels, not wheels. Metal feet. That's what I'm trying to get to, folks. So I've been thinking, okay, I need to buy a dolly for this thing, and I've seen metal dollies, and I figure, they cost about $100. It's like, really, I don't want to spend $100 on a dolly for a $200 saw, or $300 or $400, something like that. So I thought, I'm going to look online. So I looked online and for table saw dollies, and one of the first items that came up was actually some plans on Duckworks Boat Building Supplies site for a little dolly you can make out of wood. And I made that puppy in about an hour, and it's awesome. You just basically, you take a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, the length of the saw base and 7 inches wider. And then you mount a 2x4 on top of the base with a 1x4 spacer under the 2x4. And then you put your wheels on the ends. The 2x4s overhang the ends of the plywood base, and you mount your casters to those, and then you set your saw in there. And I did that, and it works great. Didn't cost me a dime because I had all the materials. I had the wood, and I had 4 casters sitting around. And I just used 2-inch casters, which have an 80-pound capacity each. I figured, well, this saw does not weigh more than 320 pounds. It's probably closer to 200. So I had my wife help me lift the saw onto the base. And man, we were in Fat City. I can roll that thing anywhere. It's just easy to move it around. And I do have brakes on the casters also. So that's pretty cool. If you do subscribe to my newsletter, I just sent an issue out a couple days ago and actually showed a picture of the dolly for the table saw. And if you'd like more information, just shoot me an email. It's a very simple design. It works really good, very inexpensive. And you can send that to woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Also, I'm thinking I want a name for my scamp. If you've got ideas, shoot me an email or write something on the blog. I'd love to hear from you. I want a good name. I don't want to just keep calling it my scamp. I want to give it a name, make it personal. Maybe that'll help me complete it sooner. You never know. If you would like to subscribe to my almost monthly newsletter, you can do so by going to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. Leave your information there, and you'll be on the list. It is free. It's a fun way for me to connect with people and make it a little more personal. Today's interview is with Mike Bretner, who lives in North Vancouver. And he's a big wooden boat guy. He's been attending the Vancouver Wooden Boat Show since 1991, I believe, or since the early days there. One of his first experiences in boats was in an aquacar. Now, aquacar is not the right word. You know what? I'm going to look this up. Hold on just a second. Okay, the word I was looking for was Amphicar. Amphicars were made in the UK in the 60s. And they're a little convertible car that you can actually drive into the water. And they've got a propeller. I think they've just got one propeller, maybe two. I think one propeller. And you can tool around in the water and then drive back out. Really cool. So anyway, one of Mike's first experiences with boats was an Amphicar that his dad had and drove into the water when he wasn't really expecting it. Amphicars are awesome. I remember when I first moved to Seattle in the 70s, late 70s, I was at Lake Union at a restaurant called Ivor's, and there was a guy on the lake in an Amphicar, and he drove up to the dock, he drove up to the dock, tied up his Amphicar and went in and had his fish and chips, and then got back in the Amphicar and drove away. It was really cool. Anyway, Mike's got lots of great experiences. He's really had some cool boats over the years. He's got a 1952 Turner lifeboat, clinker built, called Snowdrop. He's got a 14-foot rowboat based on Phil Bolger's Defender design. It's an 11-foot boat that he expanded to 14 feet that's strip built. He's made some 9-foot oars for that boat out of red cedar. Lots of cool stuff. Very enthusiastic guy. We had a great conversation. So we're going to roll the tape. So take it away, Mike. Okay, it is February 1st, 2015. I am on the phone with Mike Bretner of Vancouver, British Columbia. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. Mike's the communications director for the Vancouver Wooden Boat Society. So he runs the webpage, and we hooked up through my interview with Rod Tate, who's the president there. Is that right, Mike?
That's right.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun to get you on the phone here and talk about some of the cool stuff you've done, Mike. Let's start with a little biography of yourself, kind of what you did as a kid and how you got into boating and wooden boats.
I guess what I did as a kid is I was born in North Vancouver, and my parents moved away to California and then Oregon for a while, and then we came back up here when I went into grade 4. And I'd always been kind of a bit of a boat nut. We tended to live on the coast. And my dad was a bit of a power boater as well. He actually owned one of those Amphicar, with the propellers in the back. You can just drive right into the water.
Yeah, right.
And I remember when I was just a little guy, probably maybe kindergarten, that we were in this car, and my mom and my dad were in the front seat, of course. Myself and my brother were in the back, and Dad's driving around Santa Barbara, California, and there's a boat launch, and he drives the car right down into the water. And my mom is just like, and then you just hit the little lever or something. I don't know what you do, but the propeller started, and he drove, right? And he did like a couple of 360s and drove out again. And he just looked at my mom, and she was just like not very happy.
Oh, my goodness, Mike.
And I remember that. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I got kind of, that's really impressive when you're like, in kindergarten or
oh, yeah.
You get this car and you can just drive right into the water. I thought we were going to go to Catalina Island or something.
What do they call those cars? What's the brand name on them? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because
you see them once in a while on eBay, and there are web pages about them.
Right.
But my dad worked at a car dealership in Santa Barbara, and I guess they sold them. I don't know if it was an Amphicar or what, but it was pretty cool.
Cool.
And then when we came back up here, I went to UBC, and I joined the sailing club at UBC. And at the Jericho Sailing Center in Vancouver was just starting up then. And I ran the rescue boat for Jericho Sailing Center. And while I was there, I met a lady called Joy Molds who had a Mirror Dinghy. And if you don't want to, a Mirror Dinghy is an 11-foot stitch and glue construction, plywood dinghy, a mainsail, a jib sail, and a spinnaker. And she had one of those, and I started to get into dinghy racing there. There was quite an active fleet at Jericho at the time. And then Joy retired and moved up into the interior, and I got the boat offer. And my Mirror Dinghy, called Red Wing, was built in 1967, and it's still going strong today. I'm still sailing it regularly out of the Hollywood Sailing Club in West Vancouver.
Are those sloop boats or sloop rig?
Yeah, they're a sloop.
Yeah. Main
and jib and a spinnaker.
Yeah, and it's a wooden boat probably if it was made in the 60s, or is it glass? Yep. It's wood.
No, it's wood. It's plywood, marine plywood, with the stitch and glue construction where you put the two pieces of wood together, and usually there's a little bit of copper wire that you twist to hold the pieces together while you fiberglass the edges and join them with fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
And the neat thing about a Mirror Dinghy is that it's basically one big buoyancy tank. All the seating is a buoyancy tank. So you can flip the boat completely around, like turn it, turtle, and back up again, and there's maybe a cup of water in it because it floats so high when it's on its side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're a great little boat. My Mirror Dinghy and I have been everywhere. We've sailed on Lake Louise. I've been to the headwaters of the Fraser in it. Many lakes fishing in the interior of BC. And in Vancouver, we took it on a sailing cruise one time. I've sailed it through the Gulf Islands and the San Juans, just as the tender to the big sailboat, but sailed it separately beside the big sailboat.
Wow.
And everywhere. It's just been a great boat.
Is that, can you put two people in that okay? Is it pretty tight?
Oh, yeah. No, it's meant for two.
Oh, it is?
It's a crew boat. Yeah, the skipper looks after the helm and the main, and the crew usually looks after the jib and the spinnaker.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the first boats that was produced with stitch and glue, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the originator. It was done as a publicity thing for the Mirror paper in Britain. And it's a Jack Holt and somebody else, I can't remember the fellow's name now, design. It's his most famous design.
Yeah, because there's like thousands of those around the world.
Well, there's over 70,000 hulls have been produced, and I'm not sure as to the exact number that are surviving. Like my Mirror Dinghy number is 7067, so it's a very early model.
Yeah.
Now it's like 70,000 instead of 7,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a great boat. It's I've rebuilt it a few times, and all of the old fiberglass kind of got worn out, so I just took that off and put in epoxy-based fiberglass base, and it's just been great. It's the nice thing about wooden boats is that you can take a piece out and put a new piece in if it starts to get really damaged or worn, or if it gets broken.
Yeah.
And my Mirror Dinghy has been fixed many times, but it's still going great.
Cool. You keep that on a trailer, Mike?
It sits on a dolly, a little hand launch dolly at Hollyburn Sailing Club.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's out in the open. I've got a what's the name of that? A umbrella cover that I made for it.
Oh,
and
okay.
I just make sure that I go down every couple of 3 weeks in case any water gets in. And usually there's none, but it's dry. And then every couple of 3 years, I take it into the shop at Hollyburn, or in the summertime at home when it's dry, and do a big strip, take off all the fittings, sand everything down, revarnish. All the top decks are varnished. The hull is painted with Interlux paint.
Okay.
It's yellow.
Oh, cool.
Well, it's a yellow hull, varnished decks. It's got that cream color interior for the floor, and they have the Tanabark red sails.
Oh.
Really a cool little boat.
Yeah. What does that boat weigh, just the hull, do you know?
It's 90 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Mine's a little heavier than 90 pounds, I think, because of, the repair work. But they have to weigh at least 90 pounds that's the class restriction for weight.
Yeah. Now, are there other mirror dinghies in Vancouver?
Yeah, it's in West Vancouver at the Hollyburn Sailing Club.
Uh-huh. And are there other...
And Hollyburn Sailing Club does have a website if you just Google Hollyburn Sailing Club. And the neat thing about their site is that it shows every time you look at a page, there's a different picture pops up from their file of pictures. And they have pictures of all the members, the activities, what Hollyburn looks like in the snow, launching of boats, racing. My boat's in there a bit. It's kind of neat if you were interested in looking at pictures of boats.
Yeah. So now, what year did you get that boat, Mike?
I bought the boat in 81.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've had that a while. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, I've owned many boats in my life. The Mirror Dinghy was the first one. And then in 91, I bought the Clinker Turner putt-putt boat because I wanted to have a Clinker putt-putt boat. And just recently, I've built a rowing boat, a 14-foot rowing boat that I've been rowing around lately.
So tell me, let's talk about the 1991 Turner lifeboat. Mm-hmm. It's Clinker, which is a lap-straight construction.
Yeah.
You say putt-putt boat. What does that mean?
Well, it has an engine her engine is a Wisconsin ABM, which is, AB is the size of the motor, which is about 4 horsepower, and M is for marine. And so what it means is it's got a forward, neutral, and reverse transmission that was specifically designed for the boat. So it's a one-cylinder gas engine. It displaces 13.5 cubic inches, and it produces 4 horsepower at 2,800 RPM. And it'll cruise for 8 hours on a U.S. gallon of gas. The gas tank, Wisconsin's were made in the States, or you are, and so it's got an American gallon tank on it, and it'll go for 8 hours on a gallon of gas.
What year is the engine?
The engine is, let's see, I think it's 1954.
So were those...
oh, no, pardon me. It was built in November of 1950.
1950. Are those similar to the old Briggs & Stratton motors?
Yes. Yes, they're very similar. Briggs and Wisconsin's go way back, as well as there's a number of other small... I mean, there used to be hundreds of small little engine manufacturers.
Yeah.
And Briggs is probably the one that has survived the best. Wisconsin's, you can still buy a Wisconsin engine, but not the really small ones. I think 10 horsepower is the small one.
Yeah, when I was
when
when I was a kid, I had a had a mini bike with a 3 horsepower Briggs and Stratton.
When I bought Snowdrop, she came with a Briggs & Stratton FJ2 motor, which is a 1.5 horsepower motor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very rare. There was only, I think, 700 of them built. And my number is, it's an FJ2, and it's engine number 416. And they've got twin shrouds on either side. They've got twin flywheels. And the only reason it's not in the boat right now is the governor gear is broken on it, and I'm looking for another governor gear.
Oh, really?
When I find one, I'll put it back in the boat, as that was the original engine.
So does that have a shaft and a propeller then?
Yes. Yes, it does. It has the Wisconsin sits amidships inside. There's a hole in the side of the boat for the exhaust that goes straight out with a muffler. It's got the transmissions attached to the engine, then there's the shaft and the prop, and of course a propeller and rudder and so forth on the back. And she does about maybe 8 kilometers, 5 miles an hour kind of thing.
Okay.
About top.
Mm-hmm. And she was originally designed as a lifeboat.
Yeah, it's on the side of the bow. Well, it's stamped on the back on the transom Turner boatwork, and on the starboard side of the bow is engraved 12.1, which is her length, 4.4, which is her beam, and 1.9, which is her depth. And it's 4-person, 4PER, and the date of 14/1/52, and the initials FNE. And I don't know what the initials FNE stand for. Everything else is kind of self-explanatory, but
Yeah.
one day I'll be at the festival or something, and somebody will come up and say, "Oh yeah, I know what that means," and I'm waiting for that day when somebody tells me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't know that, Mike.
Well, I've been trying to figure it out for 20 some odd years now. I just haven't quite figured it out yet.
And that boat was made in 1991?
No, the boat was made in 1952, January 14th, 1952.
It was
I bought it in 1991.
Okay, where was that boat made originally?
Cole Harbor in Vancouver.
Oh, really?
That's where the Turner Boat Works shop was.
Yeah, what kind of a boat was that designed to be on as a lifeboat?
Well, if you were to, I don't know if you're aware of the Steam Tug Master.
I haven't heard of it.
It's
No.
just an 80-foot steam tug that was, back in the day they used it to haul barges and stuff around. Well, a boat like mine would be the lifeboat on a tug like that. And what they would do is they would put it in the water and they would run lines to log booms and back and use it as kind of a little utility boat and the lifeboat for the larger vessel.
Mm-hmm. So is it a real heavy-built boat kind of thing?
It's pretty heavy. I figure the boat itself with the engine weighs just over 500 pounds.
Oh, my goodness, for a 12-footer.
Well, the engine itself is, close to 100.
Oh, really?
And it's cedar planking. I replaced all of the oak framing with yellow cedar framing a couple of years ago when I rebuilt the hull. And when I took out all of the frames during the rebuild, only one of them came out in one piece. All the rest were broken somewhere. So after many years, it was basically the framing was shot. So then I reframed it in 2010.
Is it all copper riveted?
Yep, all copper riveted. And it was traditional construction, cedar on oak, copper riveted all the way through. It didn't even have the mahogany shear. Quite a few of them had a mahogany shear strike, and mine is just, I guess it's because it was a utility boat. Mine was just cedar.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. So what other boats have you had, Mike?
Well, I had, as I said, the Mirror Dinghy, this clinker putt-putt. I had a yellow canoe called Spliff that my wife and I honeymooned doing the Bowron Lake circuit on. And she no longer really boats, so the canoe's gone. And I've now got I've built myself a 14-foot rowboat based on Phil Bolger's Defender design that I roll around, and I've got a web page I call the Urban Oarsman, where I document all of the trips I've made in the Lower Mainland.
So it's based on a Phil Bolger Defender?
Yeah, his Defender design from his book, Small Boats from International Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Defender design's 11 feet, but it's just meant to be like a dinghy for a larger boat. And I had an experience where I took Snowdrop from Harrison Lake down the Harrison River and then down the Fraser to Vancouver Harbor. And in the middle of that, Snowdrop only takes, about a foot of water to float, but I hit bottom. I hit an island in the middle of nowhere. And it just sort of, my keel scraped a few times. I thought, if I want to go from Hope down the Fraser to Vancouver Harbor. So if I had a rowing boat, I wouldn't have to worry about propping all the machinery. And it would be just, you can row just about as fast as you can go in the clinker boat. So I was going to row. I'm going to row down the Fraser from Hope, hopefully this spring.
How long of a trip is that, Mike? How long a trip is that?
It'll be about 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Well, a couple of the Hollyburn guys in a kayak, a two-man kayak, went from Hope to the Hollyburn Sailing Club, which is in West Vancouver. So you go all the way down the Fraser, you come out at Sandheads, and then you head north and go into Vancouver Harbor to West Vancouver. And they did that trip in 11 hours. Kayaking.
Okay.
So I figure, since I'll be quite a bit, I'll do about half their speed. I expect to take 2 to 3 days to do the same job or the same trip.
Yeah. Okay. So this 14-foot rowboat, you basically took the 11-footer and expanded it. Is that what you did? Yeah.
I put all the measurements into an Excel spreadsheet and then multiplied it to bring it up to 14 feet.
Really?
And what happened when I was taking the clinker boat down, I told you I hit bottom, so I wanted something a bit shallower. And then when you get to the mouth of the Fraser, when the Fraser's going into the ocean, because the tide was going out, there were very large standing waves. So you want something that's very buoyant and has a very full bow, or else when you go through the waves, you might get a lot of water coming into the boat. So that's why I wanted to take Bolger's Defender design, because in the book he calls it a good surf boat for the length, which means that when you go into the waves, it's very buoyant in the bow, so you're not going to get a lot of water coming in. It'll just float up and down. You lose a bit of speed maybe, but you have a lot more buoyancy. And so for the roughness of the going in, where the Fraser goes into the Strait of Georgia and then around to Vancouver Harbor, that's what I wanted that for. So I took his boat and just made it a bit bigger.
I see.
Just based on my experience with my little clinker lifeboat.
So, Mike, give us some of the details of how that boat is constructed and how long it took you to build and all that.
Yeah, well, it's a strip-built boat. Her name is Garage Noon, and what I did is, it was just basically where you make a bunch of molds, and then you lay the strips across it. And I actually bought all my strips from Orca Canoe and Kayak with Rod Tate, who you interviewed earlier.
Yeah.
And it's the same construction he uses in his kayaks and canoes, where you take the strips with the bead and cove, you put them together and hold them temporarily, and then paint the whole thing with epoxy, which glues all the strips together, and then you put epoxy and cloth on top of that, so you end up with the epoxy strip construction, which is really tough.
Wow.
And the transom is laminated marine plywood, Comm. The seating is the same. There's really no internal framing, aside from what the seats provide. And it was just a matter of putting all the strips together and then flipping it over, sanding a lot, putting on the epoxy and cloth, and doing the same on the inside. And it's a really tough construction. I was rowing along at full speed and ran it up at Witcham Creek, and they have a bunch of signs all over the place, and one of them had been run over by a boat, so it was kind of pointed right at me, so I just kind of went head on into this 2-inch diameter pipe, and the boat just bounced off. It barely scraped the paint.
Oh, really?
Really tough construction. Yeah, I was very impressed.
Yeah, is that a flat bottom boat, Mike?
No, it's round.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's typical lifeboat style rounded hull.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And it was quite seaworthy. I've had it out in some good swells. If you roll out underneath First Narrows in Vancouver, when the tide's going out and the wind's coming in, there's quite a chop in there. It's very rough, and she just goes across that fine. I'm very happy with how her seaworthiness is held out.
Now,
I wish it would.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I wish it was rowing a bit faster, but I seem to be able to do about 3 knots cruising in it.
And she's strictly a rowboat?
Yep, strictly a rowboat. I do have a motor well in it in case, I thought that on the Fraser trip, if I had really bad currents or if I was tired of rolling after 10 or 15 hours, I could motor. So there is a motor well in it, but I've never used it.
Okay.
Aside from testing it to make sure it works. But it's just strictly rowing. I was actually out rowing yesterday in the bottom of Pitt Lake.
Fun.
And out for about 3.5 hours.
Do you have some big long oars that you made yourself?
Yeah, I made spoon oars. They're almost 9 feet long. They're just a few inches shy of 9 feet, and they're made out of red cedar, clear red cedar. They're D-shaped in section, and the spoon is about 5.5 inches wide, or deep, I guess. Yeah. And they work really well.
Cool.
They're nice and light. I put in lead in the handles to counterbalance them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you go online, there's lots of oar-making sites. I didn't use the traditional peak color oar where the handle inboard of the oar is kind of square. Because what they're trying to do is you're trying to make the inboard part of the oar weigh more or the same as the outside part so that when you're rowing, you're not lifting the oar, the weight of the blade out.
Oh.
It's kind of evenly balanced.
Yeah.
And that way, theoretically, all of your strength goes into moving the boat forward. You're not lifting a couple of, a pound of oar out of the water or a foot every 2 or 3 seconds. So if you can minimize that, then more of your power, more of your endurance goes into just the rowing and moving the boat forward than moving the oar up and down.
I always wondered why the oars were square on the inboard side, and that's why. It's for the weight.
Yeah, it's the counterbalance. There's also the idea that when you set them down, they don't roll.
Oh, okay.
But they don't really roll anyway because of the blade.
Interesting. So instead of doing that, you put lead inside.
Yes, I took a piece of half-inch copper pipe and melted up some tire weights, and then stuck the pipe into the ground and poured the lead in there until I got a long rod of lead about a couple of feet long. Punched it out of the copper piping, so that's all I had was a lead rod, and then you drill into the handle down. Well, I think I've got about 10 inches. And you just carefully drill down and then put the lead in there and epoxy it in. You can also do it if you don't want to have to melt everything and turn it into a rod. You can drill a hole and then just put in lead shot and then a bit of epoxy on the end to keep all the lead shot in. Mm-hmm. And that weighs down the inboard part of your oar.
So was that your idea, Mike?
No, it's on the web, and it actually Phil Bolger talks about in his book too, about weighing the handles down. In his Spur 2 design, which is, and I think it's different boats.
Now, are the
there's lots of thoughts go into rowing. It's amazing how much. I guess it's amazing how much people like me have nothing else to think about besides rowing.
Are those carved out of one piece of cedar, or are they laminated?
I laminated the blade. I made a set of spruce oars where I made it just out of one piece. And what I find is that it's a lot easier to get a really nice spoon shape if you laminate them. If you cut your oar blank in the D section all the way down to where the blade is, and that's part of the D section, you glue your blades on, you almost get part of a cup in that gluing thing. So it's just a more efficient and easier way of getting the shape. It's a lot less work than carving it all out by hand.
Oh, I see.
And I do have on my website, I do talk about making the oars, and you could, if you went to that website, you could see more.
That's
how it's done.
urbanoarsman.com?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So how long did it take you to build that boat, Mike?
Well, actually, I started in September and then worked all over the winter. I put a shelter up so it snowed on. And, of course, I could only work on nice days, which took a long time. And I launched it at the end of July in the following year. And I was a month out because I kind of smashed the heck out of my finger and couldn't do anything for a month.
Oh, really?
Well, every now and then you just do something dumb, and I managed to smack my finger and split it open and have 10 stitches. And and it was what's really dumb is it was one of the last pieces of wood I had to put in to finish it. And I did that, and my wife just looked at me. You could just see her rolling her eyes, so she drove me down to the hospital where they didn't think I was very serious, and I ended up going to a clinic. And the fellow looked at me and went, "Oh, well, that's lovely." And I said, "Yeah, it is, isn't it?" And he said, "Okay," and he shot my finger and then sewed it up, and, well, that was that. And he said, don't do that again. Don't do anything with it for about 3 or 4 weeks. So about a month later, I actually launched the boat out in West Van at Hollyburn and took it for her initial row.
Mm-hmm. Was that your first strip-built boat that you've done?
Yes, that was the first stripper boat I'd ever built. I built clinker boats when I got out of high school back in '76. I built a dozen clinker boats at that time, just little 9-foot little dinghy styles. And I built one more clinker boat about 10 years later, and then I hadn't built anything for a long time. I'd just been fixing them. I was repairing my Mirror Dinghy. I rebuilt a Mirror Dinghy for my sons to learn how to sail. And I've done a few other boats for friends and family, but I hadn't really built anything. And then I said, you know what, I want to build this rowboat. And I'd never built a strip boat before, but it looked pretty easy. And it's everything you read about. If you read the Canoe Craft by Bear Mountain Canoes, they talk about their cedar strip canoes being almost indestructible, where one time they got one and the shipping container had been crushed, but the boat was unharmed on the inside. So when it just seems like an incredibly strong construction. And the other thing is that because the wood is all epoxy encapsulated, you never have a real rot problem unless you break your epoxy coat. And that was very attractive, especially after I rebuilt the snowdrop my clinker putt. It's a lot of work to rebuild, and the idea that you never have to do that is very attractive.
Yeah.
You can also get a really smooth interior, so if you want to clean it out, you just kind of tip it on its side and hit it with a hose, and it all runs out. And you don't have the framing that you have in traditional carload or clinker construction. So it's much cleaner, easier to maintain boat too.
Did you cloth the outside and inside of the boat?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What I did is when the boat was upside down, I kind of marked where the water line was. So one layer of cloth went from water line on one side of the boat to the gunnel on the other side. And then you do that from the other side. So on the water line, I have 2 layers of cloth. And from the water line to the gunnel, there's 1 layer of cloth.
Oh.
So I just wanted it to be very, well, because I'm expecting in the Fraser to hit rocks and stuff. So I wanted my water line area to be very tough.
Did you use 8-ounce cloth or 6-ounce or?
6 ounce.
6 ounce, yeah.
Yeah, I used 6 ounce, and I used 1 layer of 6 ounce cloth on the inside, and I got all my supplies, my cloth and my resin and the strips and everything from Orca Canoe and Kayak from Rod Tate.
How many coats of epoxy did you find you needed to embed the cloth and finish over it?
Yeah, well, I had 1 coat of epoxy on the strips to glue them all together, then much sanding to smooth the hull out so that you couldn't, it looked nice and smooth and you couldn't see the individual strings. Then there was a coat of epoxy and cloth where you wet out the cloth, but you don't super saturate it. You can still see the wrinkle or the weave of the cloth.
Yeah.
And then there was 1 more layer of resin on top of that. And in some cases, I put a 3rd coat because when you're sanding the boat, you get that mirrored finish. You don't want to sand into the cloth. If you sand into the cloth, you get a light, kind of like film, where you're breaking the fibers of the cloth, and that'll never go away. You'll always see that.
Yeah.
So you want to have enough resin on top of the cloth so you can get your smooth, polished surface without sanding into the cloth. And that was 2, basically, for me. And 3 just on the transom. For whatever reason, I'm not really sure why. Maybe I just didn't put enough on it that time.
Yeah. Now, does Bolger, in his book, does he have that as plywood construction or strip?
Actually, Bolger, in his book for this one, it's traditional clinker. He does have glued lap streak plywood clinker in a couple of designs, where you basically make the strakes out of plywood, and when they're all glued together, you end up with basically one big piece of plywood that looks like a boat.
Yeah.
And you don't need a lot of framing in that.
Mm-hmm.
But Bolger does not. None of his designs are the epoxy strip, I think, because when he was doing his design work for the books, epoxy strip wasn't really there yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like, his books date from, I think, 73, I think, is the earliest.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Well, Mike, let's shift gears here and talk about the Vancouver Wooden Boat Society. Tell us about the society, what they're up to, and how long they've been around, and a little bit of that info.
Yeah, well, I've been attending the Vancouver Wooden Boat Festival since 1991. And then just recently, my job changed. I used to work funny shifts all over the time, so I found I could actually join the society and begin to contribute to a festival that I've been attending for many, many years, like 20, 22, 23, 24 coming up. And it's just a bunch of people who get together and talk about wooden boats. Our main activity is putting on the Vancouver Wooden Boat Festival at Granville Island, where we get 60 to 70 boats, nice wooden boats that come to Granville Island. They moor at the docks there. People can come on to the boats, look at them, talk to the owners, see what's going on. You could ask me about my boat or the construction of my boat. It's just a good chance for boat owners to show off their pride and joy, and for people to find out about wooden boats. Usually, just under half of the boats are small boats, and I would say that means 15 feet or less. So my clinker boat would qualify, my rowboat. We have boats that are up on the dry land, on the hard, like rods, canoes, and kayaks. We had Great Northern Craft, and he had some very pretty little sailboats, about 13 to 14 feet. He also had an 18-foot freighter canoe. So if you're looking for strip-built boats, you can see them there. If you're looking for skin-on-frame, which is the ballistic nylon around wood frame boats, we've got those there. There's clinker boats. There's plywood boats. Any type of boat construction you're interested in usually is there. And it's a festival, runs over a weekend, starts usually on the Wednesday or Thursday, runs to the Sunday. And if you want to, as a family, you can build a Bevan skiff. We subsidize Bevan skiff kits, and it costs a family about $400. You come to the festival, and during the course of the festival, you build a boat under the supervision of a qualified boat builder, and you launch it at 2 o'clock on the last day. And if you look at our website, you can see the 2009 launchings, but we've had upwards of 8 to 10 boats being built at Granville Island during the festival and launched on the last day.
Wow, that is cool.
It is. We really want to get more people because, of course, we think that wooden boat building is great. It's environmentally friendly. It's beautiful. There's something about almost a living creature you make with a boat made out of wood that you don't get with a tin boat or a plastic boat. The wood is structurally stronger than most of the other materials. It doesn't conduct heat, so that when if you sit in an aluminum boat, it feels cold. Well, if you sit in a wood boat, it just feels great. Fiberglass, it's just not there. It just doesn't seem the same. So what this festival does and what the organization does is it just promotes wooden boats. Our biggest promotion vehicle, of course, is the Wooden Boat Festival. But we were just at the Vancouver International Boat Show, and there's a booth there that we have called Wooden Boat Alley. And this year at Wooden Boat Alley, we had skin-on frame, strip-built boats, clinker-built boats, and the Bevan skiff, which is a plywood constructed boat, just for people to see. And we try to get people to come in and build boats with us.
Cool. How did it, is that boat show over now? Is it still going?
The boat show was last 2 weekends ago now.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's over.
Yeah.
We'll be back again next year.
Yep.
Just like we'll be at the at Granville Island. I think it's August 27th to 30th this year for the Wooden Boat Festival. So we do those two festivals. We also try to provide a bit of a venue for people to contact a boat builder, a wooden boat builder, or someone related with the wooden boat industry, because they're actually pretty hard to find. There's not a lot of wooden boat builders around. There's not a lot of people who work with wooden boats that you run into there. Because of the, I guess, the cost of marina space and stuff, they tend to be pretty far dispersed. And by coming to the Wooden Boat Festival, you can meet these people because they come out for that. It's like Brian Ellis, who sells marine-related books. He only does 3 or 4 shows a year, and yet he's the best source if you want to find one of Phil Bolger's design books, or one on the, what's that, the Yucca, the Upchuck, which is that boat that runs out of Banfield on the west coast. He's got them, and you won't find those books anywhere else except for at his booth at our festival. And I think he does one on the island too, at the Couch and Marine Center.
What's his name?
Brian Ellis.
Brian Ellis. So he's got books that are out of print, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, out of print. Let's see. Here, I'll just get it.
Does he have a website or anything? How do you get a hold of him if you want more information?
I'm just going to look him up.
Okay.
Let's see. And
yeah, because there's a lot of good books that aren't being printed anymore.
David Ellis, not Brian Ellis.
David Ellis, okay.
Yeah, David Ellis, and there's I don't have any contact information for him. And you know what? I could find it, but I don't have it with me right now.
Yeah, if you would mind.
And I've got to put that on the website too.
Well, very good. Well,
I've bought many books from David because it's like he's got the Hudson Bay Company's steamship Beaver out of print, immaculate, like in perfect condition, and his prices are really good too. That's the other thing that's really good about it. And if you're looking for an obscure, any sea title, he's probably got 20, 30 times the sea titles that you could get at Indigo or any of the other places there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast today, Mike. We're going to wrap it up here, and after we hang up, let's chat for a minute. But any parting comments you'd like to make?
No, just thank you very much, and I just hope that I'm hoping you come out to the Wooden Boat Festival this year. I'd love to see you there.
Yeah, actually, I'm planning on coming up, definitely, because I'm not that far.
Great.
I'm only an hour and 15 minutes from Vancouver, I think, so.
Yeah, you're not far at all.
Yeah, so.
And we'd love to see you.
Very good.
Come up and I'll show you my wooden boats.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be cool. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Mike, thanks for doing the podcast. It was great to hook up. I wish you the best, and I hope to hook up with you at the Vancouver Wooden Boat Show in Vancouver, British Columbia in August. That'll be really fun. Got lots of new friends in the Vancouver area that I'm going to try to hook up with, so that'll be cool. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate it if you leave a review on iTunes. If you go to the iTunes store, to the podcast section, put in there Hooked on Wooden Boats, you'll find me. And you can leave a review there. Make it an honest review, please. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube if you look for Wooden Boat Dan. Again, if you want to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. And if you make purchases on Amazon, you can go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/Amazon, make your purchase. I get paid a small commission. Thanks in advance for all your support. Wow, this is actually the 4th year that Hooked on Wooden Boats has been in existence, so that's pretty exciting. Episode 163 today. We're going to be tooling in on episode 200 late this year, so that'll be kind of a big milestone. Anyway, have a great week. Get out on the water, build a boat, buy a boat, rent a boat, buy some lumber, get Wooden Boat Magazine, go to a festival, send me an email, do something with wooden boats. Folks, it's a lot of fun. You'll get addicted, though. That's my warning. You will get addicted. But it's a great addiction, much better than some other addictions that are destructive. This one is not destructive normally. Anyway, have a great week. Wooden Boat Dan over and out. Keep the bright side up and the barnacled side down. God bless.